Mr. Evan DeVries.
I really appreciate being on the show and y'all having me on to chat a bit.
What are you working on?
Yeah, so I don't think I've told friends and family, but I have this project with one of our hot button words in the title. It's called Dreams Reflections,
Yeah.
and it's going to be a four-track affair, four-track and a remix of one of the tunes.
Dope.
And yeah, my buddy Max, who he goes by the name Suburb, he did an awesome remix of one of the tracks. But yeah, I think it's kind of still mostly about relationships, I would say, but then in these like dreams I kind of had years after getting out of these relationships, but then also like these reflections. And like I think that was kind of my growth period of the last 2 years or so, was sort of being in this place of, I don't know, we kind of, when we're in a relationship, we can maybe be unaware of how we're maybe contributing to the conflict in that relationship, but then we step out and like it's like, oh, and so that's kind of what this project is. It's like, so here's some things that happened with people I was friend romantic relationships with, and then kind of summing it up and looking back and how have I grown and how would I maybe approach these people differently now.
Ooh, super deep. My vibe.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and like, again, I hope it's there in the songs because, yeah, I try to offer some extra dialogue around it just so people can really dive into that if they want, and that's something I really enjoy doing. And not only putting the music, just out for people to digest how they want, but also like writing out the backstory and like getting on and putting some vlogs on a website, and for the gear nerds, like telling them what compressor I used and what guitar strings I prefer, because there's all these like little elements that if you want, you can dive into that. And to me, that's a really interesting way of putting out music, is something that like is like one of the most hot button words in marketing, but just experiential, like something a little bit more like world building, however you want to phrase it, like offering up that like kind of next level of interaction for people that want to do that.
Yeah, that's that entrepreneurial mindset, man. I love that. You said it earlier, the hustle. It's that hustle mentality.
100%. Yeah, it's good and bad, man. I love working on projects and also, gotta take your breaks when you need them.
Exactly. Well, I think if there's anything, it's that it was your song SMH, it's I'm caught between my grip and letting go. Like that first off caught my eyes, and I was like, yes, I love that. It's like tried to get some closure just to know, and I was like, yo, like this is a real one.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. Yeah, that's and that one will be on the new EP. That's kind of the more like taking a look back on things, and like closure is that's a very interesting topic, because like it's so hard to quantify, like it's such a like, because I think sometimes people think like, oh, okay, this person like is out of my mind and like that, therefore I'm good, or like I didn't get angry when I saw their Instagram post, so like I'm clear, I'm good now. Sorry, I'm being a little cheeky, but like
no, it's totally true though. I love
it. but yeah, I think like just examining that topic a bit and like hearing what other people thought about closure, and like getting a few of those answers on social media, it's been interesting, and opening up that dialogue, like we've been talking about.
Well, again, like it's the fact that we don't really know until we know. I like to see it like the fruit only drops when it's ripe, but it's that process that you have to kind of go through in that search, where it's like, if you just dismiss it, like, oh, I just saw the one thing, we're good, and then run away and just like try to distract yourself. It's like, no, something's going to happen where you see some random, like you smell something random, you like hear a sound, and then you just break down, like clear your
100%. Yeah, you're right. It can always bubble up in a weird way.
Well, I think that's the stuff that's kind of, I really hope that it gets really taken away, and the message from this is just to really do that type of inner search, and just to know that it's like a process of healing. And I don't think there's so much stigma with that type of stuff, and just, being sincere and emotional into yourself, and self-love and self-care. Like, we do not value that as a society, and it's pretty crazy.
100%. Yeah. And like people can definitely like internet trolls, man. Like they'll mock you when you're trying to be sincere because that's really easy, and
True.
like it's so easy
Feel
to say
that.
LMAO at whatever once, and that's a real example. Like when you're trying to
Yeah.
be honest, or someone says something that was maybe hateful towards other people, and
Mm.
like and then you call them out on it, and you say like this is disrespectful. Like you didn't need to say that, and like whatever you saw in my video, like that set you off for some reason, like it was my face or how I sing or whatever it is, like that's yours to deal with, quite honestly. Like, and you can be mad at me all you want, but like this is kind of on you.
Well, that's the stuff that I find absolutely like mind-boggling is that you have an entire generation of just like children and youth immersed in this stuff all the time. And it's like that kind of concept of like the trolls where it hit me a few months ago where it was like, oh wow, like when there was bullies and those types of like bad experiences in school or like sports, like you could at least go home and like not have to deal with that stuff. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
now it's like you get a notification, you get the ping, you see it all the time. Now it's shareable, it's spreadable, and it's like wildfire when it happens.
yeah, dude. Like bullying to scale, it's nuts. Yeah, and I think that there can be some really unhealthy conversations just happening on those platforms, and
Hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, people have gone into it already in really thoughtful ways, but I think yeah, it's just being willing to maybe address somebody how you wouldn't face to face, and for those people that would already address people like that, it just like further gives them like a tool that could be really hurtful.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing that I always like to say though is everyone judges you anyway. Just dance your own dance. They're like, doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter what you say, just be your most sincere self. Because those that are seeing it and listening, it's like a beacon of light. They'll gravitate towards it.
100%. Yeah, those people aren't worth too much of your time.
Well, in the creative aspect, what would you find has been the real? I mean, I know you touched upon like the relationships and the other aspects, but in terms of like are you creating this EP by yourself, or have you been working with different musicians? I know you said you have a remix. Someone did a remix. I saw the SMH video, which was produced by don't. I'm probably gonna mess up the name. I'm just gonna go with Armin.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's my buddy Amit.
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
and so that was yeah, cool. And Amit's a super talented local producer, and we kind of that was an interesting one because he heard a song of mine that was already pretty much completed, and he just wanted to kind of reproduce it, and it was kind of serving like a dual purpose of like kind of showcasing his space, but also showcasing me as an artist and the musicians that I play with, and um, the person who really helped bring the full EP to life was my buddy Aaron Karstensen, and we have a really interesting dynamic. Like we're very close friends, but if you looked at us artistically, you couldn't have more opposite people. Uh, Aaron makes trap metal,
Oh wow.
so it's real intense and like it's like kind of like sometimes people say like you go to a metal concert and they're like the nicest people in the world, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
like Aaron's vibe. Like he's like kind of a bit scary maybe to some, like maybe me a little bit, like online, like because he's got this really dark presence and like and and that's just like his thing because that's what he likes and that's totally cool. But but yeah, that intensity, and then I'm like, Aaron, check out this like jazzy cover of Macy Gray. I can't believe how like whisper quiet the vocal is, and it sounds so good still. Or there's just always this funny kind of comparison there. But Aaron co-produced the entire album,
Oh
uh,
nice.
and so Aaron mixed it. Excuse me, Aaron mixed and mastered it as well.
Oh dope. So it's like a
And
full collab.
he really he pays a ton of attention to like fidelity and just really making sure that the mix was contributing to the song and not a distraction, and yeah, just taking that extra time to be like really thoughtful with how it was delivered. And yeah, I honestly, it's probably the first project, like full music that I'm putting out online, that I'm really, really proud to just like have my name on it there. And that's just a really nice feeling.
Yeah, and I think again, like when you could put your stamp on it, when you know you've done like your creative expression with no resistance. that's the stuff that's always the most blissful, because then it's like, oh yeah, it was perfect, exactly how I felt it.
Totally, yeah, and I already feel like very satisfied. Like even if it tanks on Spotify or something, like that's okay. Like I can do another one, and I'm gonna have a blast doing that too. And I think just like focusing on that, like getting that body of work to a place where I'm really just happy with all the stuff I've put out, like, and just continuing to enjoy it. It's a lifelong thing, I think. And once you know that, I think it does take quite a bit of pressure off because you are going to stick with it, you know?
Well, again, it's kind of your own self-creation. It's your own baby, and it's going to grow, and, and you're just going to keep nurturing it in different ways. And that's the cool thing that I find about, like your versatility is that you have so many different outlets and avenues to kind of put all your sounds out there. Like I'm very excited to hear it just because I was like, oh man, what is this guy doing? He's doing a lot of stuff, like a lot of talents.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, it's been a blast, and yeah, just excited to see what else comes down the pipe, and maybe it's a collaborative album with somebody in the future. Like my guys from the band I'm in, the Coastals. I love writing with those guys. Like they're my favorite musicians to play with in like a live context, and I owe them a lot because they're two Berkeley guys, and they always hate when I bring that up. But I'm not like I did jazz singing in high school, and it was like a competitive jazz choir kind of thing, but not like formally trained per se. And so like to be with some cats that were really, really sharp and just like used to playing at such a high level, like they brought me up to speed. And that's why I mentioned Berkeley, the Berkeley credentials, because they're great. Like, and that says enough,
Oh yeah.
Have a happy always. That concludes this episode of Creatives Chat. Thank you for watching. Join us every Thursday at 3:33 p.m. Pacific Daily Time as creative minds get together and chat about who knows what. View more episodes on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks again to our sponsors for making this show possible.